Good morning, my dear friends. I would like to welcome you to a talk on the functions and features of World Trade Organization. About this World Trade Organization, we will learn the first. In the late 90s, there were drastic changes and revolutionary measures have taken place in the field of global trade. It has led to liberalization, globalization, and privatization in the business sectors. After many discussions and deliberations, it was decided to have a separate establishment in a structural organization to look after the matters pertaining to the trade and also effectively monitor the system. On 1st January 1995, World Trade Organization was started at Geneva and Switzerland. As a result of the many rounds of talks held during the Uruguay negotiations, which have taken place from 1986 to 1994. At the time of establishment, so many nations have joined. But as on 29th July 2016, there were 164 countries having the membership. Later on, it was increased to 188. The budgetary allocations made during 2015 was 197 million Swiss francs. And coming to the Secretariat of the World Trade Organization, there were around 634 members working in the Secretariat of WTO. Now, we will see the objectives of the World Trade Organization. The first and foremost objective of the World Trade Organization is to implement the new world trade system in the new environment as per the deliberations and discussions which were visualized in the agreement. The next important objective of World Trade Organization is to promote the world trade in a manner that benefits each and every country. The third important objective is to ensure that developing nations also secure a better balance in the sharing of the advantages which are resulting from the expansion of international trade system and the mechanism corresponding to their developmental needs. This has aimed at overcoming the difficulties and demolishing those hurdles to ensure an open world trading system and pusher in an international economic renaissance because the world trade is an effective instrument to the foster the bridge building gaps between the all sectors in the economic growth. The fifth important objective of the World Trade Organization is to promote and also enhance the spirit of competitiveness among all the trading partners so as to benefit the consumers and help in the global integration. The next important objective of the World Trade Organization is to increase the level of production and productivity with a view to ensuring that there will be a rise in the level of employment in the world. Last but not the least, objective is to expand and utilize the world resources to the best and also to the achievement of a good level of standards in the living and also improving their conditions for the global population and also speed up economic development of all the member nations. Now, let us see to the functions of World Trade Organization. The first and foremost function of the World Trade Organization is that it shall facilitate the implementation, administration, and operation and try to further the objectives of agreements and also of the multilateral trade agreements, and they will also provide the framework for the implementation, administration, and operation of plurilateral trade agreements between the member nations. The second function is that the World Trade Organization shall provide the necessary forum, rather a platform for the negotiations among its member nations concerning their multilateral trade relations in the matters dealt with under the agreement in the annexes to the agreement. Third function is to see that The World Trade Organization shall administer the undertaking on the rules and procedures governing the settlement of disputes mechanism. This function of the World Trade Organization will carefully deal with and administer very cautiously with the trade policy review mechanism. The next function is targeted at with a view to achieving greater coherence in global economic policy making. The World Trade Organization shall cooperate in such an appropriate manner with the international agencies like IMF, that is International Monetary Fund, and also IBRD, International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, which is also known as the World Bank. Now, we will see the features of World Trade Organization. The first and foremost feature is that there should be no discrimination among the members. Second one being free trade practices to exist in the mechanism. Third one is to ensure the stable market conditions prevail in the trading system. Fourth one is the fair practices which will promote the perfect and good competitive spirit, which will be useful for both the producers and consumers. Fifth one is to show the special concern with regard to the developing nations. Then sixth feature is to provide a market access commitment system which assures a committed system of access of markets. Seventh one is aimed at the appropriate authority for taking decisions at the ministerial level meetings. The next one is the forum for discussion of wider range of issues and resolve them in an amicable manner. And last one is the MTS, which is a multilateral trading system to prevail in the organization. Now we will discuss one after the another in detail. Non-discrimination is the important principle where the World Trade Organization has been established on the principles of non-discrimination. Literally, non-discrimination has two means. First one is about the trading partners who are the stake players will be granted the status of MFN, which means most favored nations. That is, each member of that state will be having a right and privilege with the World Trade Organization, which will treat the other member of the states equally as the most favored nations during the trade mechanism. This is a very good objective and positive item in the spirit of cooperation. Secondly, it means non-discrimination will work in true spirit where no discrimination will be shown by the members of the state between different trading states who are also members of the World Trade Organization. However, some exceptions have been provided in this regard. If we take an example, especially in case of regional trade agreements, it exists. Foreign goods, services, trademarks, patents, and copyrights will be given the similar treatment as given to the citizens or nationals of a country. The second one is the objective of free trade, where the World Trade Organization, which is more or less similar to that of former GATT, which existed hitherto, the General Agreements on Trade and Tariffs, is to promote among the member nations with the help of negotiations. To achieve this purpose, the World Trade Organization has to work in the movement towards progressive liberalization of trade practices through reduction in the rates of tariffs and also for the removal of quantitative restrictions on the imports by the member nations. The third feature is to maintain the stability in the trading system. There are so many agreements in the World Trade Organization upon which the member states are committed and time and again not to raise the tariffs and non-tariff trade barriers arbitrarily. This sort of maintenance will enable the trading system to provide the stability and to some extent the degree of predictability in the mechanism of the trading system among the members of the World Trade Organization. The fourth one is that the WTO is having a special concern with regard to the developing nations. We know in this world, the number of developed countries are very limited and developing nations are larger in number. The World Trade Organization is giving a top priority, showing the special concern for the development of those nations which are considered to be developing nations, as it has given them more and more time to get themselves adjusted to the terms and conditions mentioned in the agreements, and also to derive some personal privileges. An important feature of World Trade Organization is that it would deal with not only disputes and settlement in the area of trade in the goods, but also will look at the whole range of issues with those services and intellectual property rights and the like with equal importance. The next important aspect for which the World Trade Organization attaches the importance is promotion of fair competition. World Trade Organization system of multilateral trading system provides for transportation of fair and undistorted competition among the various countries. They have also framed the rules in such a manner as to make the most favored nations with the treatment to all the trade partners and give equal treatment to all the foreign goods, patents, and also copyrights with other nationals, as they will ensure a fair competition among the trading nations in the World Trade Organization. Then the World Trade Organization agreements provide for discouraging unfair competitive practices such as export subsidies and dumping, which means the selling of products which are produced abroad below the domestic price to gain the market access, because this will naturally weaken the products produced by domestic markets. So it's a preventive measure. That's why anti-dumping duty is also levied on such products in our customs duty mechanism. Next aspect is to enable the member nations to avail of the market access system. The World Trade Organization agreements which are seeking to establish a multilateral trading system require the other member nations to undertake the same mechanism to gain market access commitment on a reciprocity basis. In fact, market access is ensured by abolishing non-tariff barriers as well as by reducing the tariffs in the price mechanism. In order to provide market access for the products of developing countries being supplied to the United States, and the United States have also agreed to impose a cut down on the farm subsidies, which will help the system to improve and strengthen the producers. The developing nations are also required to reduce the agricultural subsidies to the level of 10% of the value of the agricultural produce. In the area of trade in services, the market access system has been ensured by giving foreign suppliers the same treatment as domestic service suppliers. The next important feature is that the decisions at the ministerial level meetings. This is the very novel feature of the World Trade Organization is that with this it has upgraded the decision making at the ministerial level. Important decisions regarding to the trade and the related matters are to be taken at the ministerial level meetings. Now, ministerial level meetings have also been incorporated in the framework of the legal structure of World Trade Organization. Then comes the wider range of issues. Another important feature of this World Trade Organization is that it will deal with not only the issues and also settlement of disputes relating to the trade in goods but also the whole range of issues concerning with trade in services and also the intellectual property rights. Then we'll have the last but not the least features of the World Trading Organization is about the multilateral trading system, because the World Trade Organization seeks to establish with just and fair multilateral system of international trade in which the developed countries and developing nations and also the least developed nations will have equal opportunities for market access of their products in foreign countries. And if there are any discriminatory barriers in the trade are there, they will be set aside. And also unjust government support to those exports by different nations will also be got eliminated. Now, in this session, we had a discussion on the objectives, functions, and features of World Trade Organization. With this, we will end this session. Thank you, one and all.